framework. That's the way you're going to be able to take down a lot of these top teams. When you catch them off guard with certain plays, so early on we're going to spawn into this Rio HB. I feel like this has been the starting map for every single series that we have saw today, but if you are Atlanta FaZe, you are happy as hell to be playing this fast-paced SMG map because we know what Simp and Abizi are capable of.
Oh, without question. And so here we go. Jumping on into the action. We've got the Atlanta FaZe taking on the hometown crowd and, of course, the hometown team in Team Falcons. And it's Exton who does find first blood. So, again, for Falcons, this is about being efficient in and around the hard point if you want to have a chance to keep this one tight.
Yeah, everyone's counting them out of this series. Besides the people who are in the crowd, you can already hear the chants going down for Team Falcons. As they're starting off with at least initially 10 points into that P1, but Atlanta FaZe, they work their way back on in. They find a break, and now still a good chunk of time to fight for.
Yeah, you've got just one player inside the hill for now, but you've got really FaZe trying to control the outsides of the map. A couple individual 1v1s start to come through. Good trade from Khalid, and that's enough to actually maybe force a 1v1 for some of this scrap time. Khalid looking for it with the pistol. Can't quite find the player in and around the hard point, though, and help is able to arrive for FaZe.
And now if you are Atlanta FaZe, you're going to be able to take the lead, and you also have the rotation over towards News. So Team Falcons are going to be late off of the fundamental aspect. You're going to allow Atlanta FaZe to properly set up over towards this new HP. So how do Falcons decide to break it? Thankfully, Roxas, he finds that first opening kill. Now you have the numbers advantage. Let's use our attacks to break our way in.
Yeah, Trophy doesn't quite get down, though, for Team Falcons. Another one replaces it. Draza over the top of Banana, does eventually get traded out. Khalid trying to force his way now in. Pinch on the way from Simp, but good eliminations here from the front from Falcons. Give him a chance to earn more time.
Yeah, but there's only one player left in the hill. Exnet, he is going to fall now. The rest of the teammates spawning all the way across the map. Atlanta FaZe with the numbers, able to work their way back into the HP. You already have players like Abizi hitting those routes, trying to play for that next set of rotations. He wins that one-on-one gunfight, and Draza finds a double. So where are the spawns for Falcons? They're now at the old hill. Atlanta FaZe are hitting the gas to hit that rotation.
And this is the macro level that you expect out of a team like FaZe, and that's where I think Team Falcons will a bit struggle. You know, again, those key 1v1 moments on rotation could play the difference maker. Good clean feed here, though, in the scrap time. Allows Team Falcons to get a little bit more time over towards 2. Pinch being hit by Abizi, and from the front, Simp able to double up, leaving just Roxas by himself.
Yeah, now Roxas left in a 1v3. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He is going to fall to the hands of Abizi. So Atlanta FaZe fully set up again off the rotation. The SMGs taking a lot of ground around that mid-map area. Abizi still slaying with the best of them on 4 in a row. The rest of the teammates holding down the HP. Last player alive is going to be Roxas. Can he win a gunfight versus Celium? He does not. So first push gets shut down.
And that's a tough 1v1 for anybody, let alone Roxas in that situation with Celium kind of holding a power position over the top of the stairs. Simp also holding on to Eski's side. So first 30 seconds largely tallied up cleanly for FaZe. Next break attempt, though, already finding a little bit of contest. Unfortunately, it's just not together. That cohesion falls apart, allowing FaZe to possibly get a full 6.
Yeah, and this is where the game can start to get a little bit out of hand. If you are Falcons realizing we're not finding success on breaks, let's just cut our losses and set up properly over towards the new hill. But they are going to be late to the party. Thankfully, stuns are able to connect onto Abizi. You're able to find that kill. You have 2 players off the rotation over towards New. Can they find anything extra to make this a little bit easier? But Simp, he's still causing mayhem. He is going to find one, but the rest of Falcons, they strike. They win the rotation to New.
Quick trade onto Abizi as well. Okay, so all 4 fall. Falcons going to have a chance to put themselves into the setup that they prefer here for a garage. And they're even going to get a little bit aggressive over towards the forklift. So it's going to force FaZe to have to create some sort of an opening. A lot of the focus largely going to come over towards Box's side. Khalid stunned up. Here comes the push forward. Decent angle, though. Able to deal with the first, but FaZe still find a couple of kills, but it's not enough. Falcons still hold.
It's better effective trades right there out of Team Falcons. They're able to execute that to perfection. Still holding on to this final 30 seconds. Team Falcons, the hometown team. I know everybody's dying to hear what they got to say. Let's go to a listening with Team Falcons.
Abizi.
انا نيو ها واحد
ايوه
وش يمين مره واحد بيجي ثاني بيون واحد يركز بيون ها
امشوا له بيمين اسحب عليه راح عبود اشوف اي غدره غدره مات
كيريو
طلع يمين وين انا ماسك غدره
قدام شوف فرونت
سليم عندي 2 غدره ها 2 عندي غدره عيال وعندي سليم غدره يسار
حبيبي قدام ما فهمت قدام واحد غدره
سليم غدره راس منه مات فحل
تايم
باجي اعزز لك اكتب علي
ضربيك ثاني بقدام
واحد فوق مدمج ها
سمت رحت مدنا واحد يو
يمين التايم دمج مرة ها. مين التايم؟
وان شوت يو
نلعب نص
يلا علي
بيضغط واحد انفو بيضغط 100%. لازم نشيله. تعالوا نشيله.
بقدر صار ثاني سلمان
واحد انفو 100%.
لوبي يمين
اي نص يمين
بيزي لوبي ها شيلوه
نص يمين. لا الحين ما يم عليك. مدمج عندي خالد.
مع بعض هجس فور الباب هات
عندك وقت تايم قال راح علي عندي.
بسون راح صار بيبسي متى
اجيكم نص.
صار بيبسي
واحد غدر من يمين. ما
صار بيبسي
ما جاب شغل.
واحد يو نايس لوبي عادي لوبي مرة تقول حالها
Oh, Falcons dealing with a little bit of pressure here, but fighting back pretty nicely as we jump over to hear how Atlanta are dealing with the temperature being kicked up by Team Falcons.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm pushing us one.
I'm looking bridge. Yeah, I'm telling
I'm pushing it.
Bridge on me. Bridge stuff to me.
Bridge, I'm one shot.
I'm staying down.
I'm
Bridge.
lagging, bro.
Low bridge. Weak. Low bridge. Our side. Two Huskies and pitch. All good. Good. He's there. We're gonna iron. Con's open. I have our back. Tyler, Con's open. I have the back.
I'm trying to
Alright, nice. I'm trying you. 2 deep back. 2 deep back, okay? Here, back on. Take your time. He's back on. Stay back on. I hear you. Go for it. I'll get secret in a second.
Help me.
Last guy. How about that? Nice. I have secret. They're counting me. They split. They're front of me. I have a push. I'm trying to stay down. Are you ready? I'm off now, I think. Are you ready? Two. White van. 3 front. Look front. He's behind your car. He's been close. I got him.
That's a biker.
I'm trying to get your bed.
That's a biker.
Challenge. Last two. Good time. I'm going mid. Nice.
Well, you could definitely tell that FaZe need to take this pretty darn seriously, and those comms definitely give you the intention that they absolutely are. Falcons still keeping it tight, but this last 20 is looking good for Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta FaZe, they were able to withstand that pressure from Falcons because they initially started off that P2 with the back spawns, but too much pressure, too much aggression out of Atlanta FaZe. They were able to hold that for a flawless 50 seconds. You cut your losses, you give up the final 10, you win the rotation over towards new. And then when we jumped into the listening, you heard Sib, he was trying to activate the team.
Yeah.
He said, all right, let's go, guys. Let's start to turn up because it's probably a little bit too close for comfort.
Yeah, a little bit of a stretch up, though. Now going from 2 to 3. FaZe able to string together a number of points as Falcons are trying desperately to work their way around the outside, but it does feel like the SMGs are starting to pick up on what the Falcons are doing. They're cutting off these rotations pretty darn quickly, and now the lead continues to grow to an enormous amount.
Yeah, still 40 seconds to fight for here as well at the P3. Falcons could not find a successful break early on when it first happened, but already in the feed, you see 3 going in favor of Atlanta FaZe, make it all 4. So now with 30 seconds left, obviously when you're in this much of a deficit, you cannot give up all this time and cut your early rotations. You're just hoping that a couple kills go your way. They find the initial 2, this might be a break opportunity.
Zell in trouble, trying to get to safety, not going to be allowed to. 15 seconds of scrap time, like you mentioned, important here for Falcons trying to hold on to this. Sip trying to deny any time to be earned, and it is a pinstripe kill feed. But a lot of that really just amounts to what happens on rotation here, heading over towards garage side. Rox is able to get the regen. He's going to be the first one forward here if he decides to push up towards the forklift.
Yeah, and this was the hill that Falcons were able to put themselves into the game with a flawless 60 hold. Atlanta FaZe were not able to trade effectively, so can they repeat that same exact setup? They start off with the initial gunfight, but Abizi effective on the trade, already taking control of that garage area, and they have boxes. Falcons got to iron up and get a couple kills.
Good look here from Khalid, trying to watch the rotation in from garage, trying to follow up, but a late stun does come through, allowing the trades to happen, but the last double down ends up working for Falcons, and now a chance to continue to keep the zone a bit further forward, but FaZe able to find a kill, may still have a chance to break for this last 25.
Yeah, still a lot of time to fight for it. When you have this much of the lead, you can contest it all the way down to the very end, but Falcons, they're not giving this up for free. It's going to turn into a one-on-one gunfight, and Khalid gets the better of Simp. So still 15 seconds here. One player from Atlanta FaZe trying to contest this, but they're all thinking about that rotation over towards new.
Really good hardpoint for Team Falcons.
Yeah.
2 rotations in a row. Also, a little bit of a stick comes over, so Abizi will drop. But the margin for error is thin here for Team Falcons. They make it a respectable scoreline for now, but they've got to secure a break quick.
Yeah, and it has to happen really, really quickly because you have Khalid who was able to get a blessed spawn on this free pinch. Abizi is going to give up that angle, but you're just hoping that Khalid can open up this attack. But everybody around him is falling, so eventually Atlanta FaZe are going to get a read that the pressure is no longer in front of us. Let's turn around and make sure all of our bases are covered, and they get a clean 4 dead, and they can still win the game here.
Yeah, this is all about now having to flood if you're Team Falcons. No chance to rotate through mid. You've got to find these kills from the front. This is just taking too much time. We got to go. We got to get there. Accent able to find one on the opener. Gets at least FaZe out of the hard point for now, but the read is in. EWC pushed off the angle. That allows Falcons to get into the hard point for a little while longer, but a fully healthy Sip comes back over. That's enough for the double and maybe possibly the game, as Sip is on 5, looking for number 6 as a way to kind of add some icing to the cake here, which it does look like FaZe should close out. One last attempt for Falcons to get on in. Do they touch in time? They do, but not enough to extend it. Another map. FaZe take the opener.
FaZe take the opener, but Falcons gave them a run for their money,
Yeah,
man. If they could have found a couple successful breaks early on into that P3. They kept P1, they kept P2 scrappy, except the second rotation where Atlanta FaZe started to pull away with the game. As soon as we jumped out to listening with them, hyping up the boys, he also, at the same time, when we jump out of the listening, was able to pop 3 in the feed. So Atlanta FaZe, a little bit slow start, but they finished strong.
A bit of a confidence booster, though, I think, for Team Falcons.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this team didn't make it through the LCQ for EU Challengers to get to Challengers Champs. So the expectations were not necessarily high in any regard for Team Falcons, but they're shooting back. They're finding good, quick, efficient trades. And honestly, they're struggling in the same way that all the other Challengers teams are. On rotation, they're not quite finding the 1v1s that matter to get the setups that they need.
That's simply what it comes down to, my friend. You hit it right on the nail. You got to win a couple rotations, especially versus a team like Atlanta FaZe, because every time they won that rotation over towards P4, they were able to soak up a majority of that time. They won the rotation in the first half of the game at P5. They kept that one scrappy and kept themselves in the game. But Atlanta FaZe, when they were able to dominate that P2 the way that they did, then you already have a BZ hitting routes through middle, winning those one-on-one gunfights, spawning Falcons all the way across the map. It's just very difficult to always try to play catch-up, especially versus this Atlanta FaZe squad.
Yeah, and I think, again, just to give a little bit more credit to Team Falcons, they held off the presence of the double SMGs of EWC and Sip pretty darn nicely. But the problem is, then you got to get through Draza, then you got to get through Celia, and those are some of the hardest 1v1s to take, no matter what weapon you end up holding. So, yeah, I would say good stuff from Falcons. Definitely inspires some confidence towards what they could possibly do in this event. But for FaZe, not taking them lightly. And maybe some of that is like, whoa, the heat in the kitchen is a little bit warmer than we would have expected. But still, that's the Atlanta FaZe we come to know, is turning up when it matters.
Yeah, you know, closing out those final moments of the game, making sure that they're taking care of business. They do it in that map number 1. But now if you are Falcons, this search and destroy needs to be guaranteed for you to keep your hopes and dreams alive and potentially taking down Atlanta FaZe. Had the opportunity to also talk to Atlanta FaZe about this Falcons roster. They obviously do not know a bunch about this roster, but the one person that they did know was King Abadi. Once I said that, they said, oh, wow, they had that guy in their team? Okay, they are very underrated because they feel like he is a game-changing player. He has a slow start in that map number 1. Hopefully he has a bounce back here in that S&D.
It's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way of putting it. And I don't think that that comes as a surprise to anyone who is familiar with the Call of Duty space. But a little bit of life shown, and that inspires, like we said, a lot of possibility for them. Maybe even do a little bit of damage as we come up to an invasion, search and destroy, and an invasion control. Now, to be fair, Atlanta's got a lot of reps on both these maps and mode combinations, but still, I think if there were to be a map mode combo for this Team Falcons squad to surprise, it would be in the search and destroy. That's how they really kind of showed a lot of progress through the EU Challenger space, and maybe they got something cooking up for this matchup here.
Yeah, the search and destroy is going to be big, man, and finally we're going into an invasion search and destroy where those smoke grenades are going to be allowed on this map. I'm very curious to see what the update was and how big of space that smoke is going to be able to cover. But if you are Team Falcons, this needs to be guaranteed. The hometown team is behind you. The hometown crowd is behind you. They are wanting you guys to compete with the best of them, and they showed good fight in that map 1.
Do you agree with the evaluation after map 1 that still, if Team Falcons were to pull off the Miracle on Ice version of Call of Duty, that it has to be through the 2-3-5?
Yes.
Or do you think that the Karachi hardpoint maybe could lead to some opportunities if we get there?
Karachi hardpoint is a strong map for Atlanta FaZe, and they tend to think about that rotation in the back of their mind, specifically around that P2 to P3. When you allow those 2 hills to go against you, you're simply not going to win the map. So it has to be 2-3-5 if you are Falcons.
Okay, so regardless of it, this feels like a must-win map if Team Falcons were to, again, do the impossible.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Let's be honest with you. Again, I think the desk was appropriate in saying that it's not a null chance. It might be closer to 0 than anything else, but any Oppenheimer fan knows that the ability to set the world on fire is not 0. So we'll see if that ends up happening here as we jump into an invasion, search and destroy. Team Falcons, what do you got cooking for us as we jump on into round number 1?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to handle the aggression out of Atlanta FaZe because they like to take the map away from you. You can already see Abizi showing presence in towards Cafe. Falcons are going to go for a sort of split around the map, but look at Abadi. He's going to be super aggressive up on the side. He finds that first blood.
Catches Abizi a bit off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we don't often see a lot of aggressive hits that quickly over towards A, especially in round number 1 with no nade support, but Abizi gets caught off guard, and now all of a sudden, FaZe are a little bit stuck backside Park. This is prime opportunity for an early plan.
Oh, and Abadi's able to find a second, make it. Xnit also finds the third, so it's a 1v4 left up to Simp. Gets the freebie onto Khalid, but that bomb is going to be planted. Does Simp have another all-star MVP kind of moment?
And for Falcons, don't do anything too crazy.
No.
Play your 1v3 advantage, especially with the bomb being down. Simp tagged up, makes an exit over towards DVD, looking for what looks to be an isolation initially over towards Xnit, and he will find him. Time becoming an issue here, though. 25 seconds on the clock. More tags coming out of Team Falcons, and the long-range shots of Roxas will get Falcons the open round.
Man, and that's the confidence right there out of Abadi, man. The fact that he just aggressively pushes up through Water Street, they gained the info because they had one player slowly watching that middle map. They realized that Atlanta FaZe do not have mid-tank control, and Abadi, he just pushes up that Water Street, completely catches Abizi off guard, and then somehow, someway finds that second kill. They dominate around that A site. That's the answer you were looking for. Falcons up 1-0.
Big stuff. And I think the thing about it is, like, not just finding a way to win rounds, but to do so in a way that has Atlanta FaZe guessing a little bit. Getting them out of their comfort zone. You know, playing off of a playbook they might not be used to. Making them adapt and change more than you having to mold what your game plan is to what Atlanta's showing you.
Now it's Atlanta FaZe's turn. On the attacking side and trying to isolate onto Abadi, but the stun is going to be able to connect. He's going to go for the chow. He has an AR in hand as well. This is not the gun to be fighting up close and personal versus Abizi. Simp strikes first, but Abadi's stuck.
Well, I mean, he's gone 1 for 1. That's not bad, considering the circumstances. The problem is Khalid couldn't get back over towards Dark, and then the 1v1 isolated towards the B Street also goes the way of FaZe. So, quick hit coming through, and let's be honest, you can't lose mid-map against FaZe.
No, you can't lose mid-map at all, no matter who you are playing against on a map like Invasion, because that's basically how you cut off both of the sites. So that mid-tank area needs to be guaranteed. Throw your trophies down, try to stay alive as long as you possibly can. But Atlanta FaZe respond with a very quick attacking round to tie it up at 1. Now they have trophy systems. You will probably see a different change in their defensive setup. Someone is guaranteed to play around that mid-tank area.
Absolutely. The question just becomes, is it going to be someone like Abizi? He's often played it with both weapons, mind you, as well. And this time it'll be Simp, who's playing pretty aggressively up towards this bottom side at mid. You've also got Abizi playing over towards the cafe windows. So a couple of opening information gathering tools have worked out for FaZe on this defense, but Khalid and the rest of the Falcons have eyes towards B here early.
Yeah, Atlanta FaZe, though, they have all their bases covered. You have Cafe, you have already an aggressive play out of Celium. You heard the talk about him. He barely moves on the map, but taking control of that water is going to make this difficult. But Abadi almost miraculously pops that two-piece onto the tiny terrorist 3v3.
I mean, and that isolates Draza over towards the B site. And now the information is known for Team Falcons that FaZe are playing aggressive through water side. Just comes down to how aggressive are they playing. That was the only lingering question. Roxas trying to get back over towards B. Not going to be able to. Xnit searching for a trade. Not quite able to tally any of the FaZe members on this push through, and the bomb is also down at the moment. Difficult moments, but Xnit does capitalize, taking down Celium. The snap over towards the BZ, decent, but we get a 1v1 from the red.
Okay, so we're going to have Khalid versus Abizi in a 1v1. Bomb is going to be freely planted over towards his B site, and I love the angle that he plants it on the front, and he's ready for the gunfight. Big one-on-one clutch. Team Falcons take the lead again.
And a great read.
Yeah.
Knowing that Celium's played up through Water Street, okay, let him stay there. Let's hard attack down B. We get some damage into Draza. We isolate that, and then we just have to watch the flank. Really good understanding from this Team Falcon squad, showcasing some early S&D IQ.
That's perfectly played, too, because Atlanta FaZe, it looked like their defensive setup was flawless. But the fact that Abadi wins that first gunfight versus Simp, has a BZ weak so he can't instantly chow that second player, that allows him to take a little bit of control on the map and then forces the repositioning out of Draza. So Falcons, again, up 2-1. Back to the defensive side they go. And this time they're going to give up that B side for free. It's because they're staying super aggressive through mid-map.
Problem is, Celium, I think, has read some of this. He's watched this entire cross. And FaZe, yep, they are in position to get the bomb planted and also make sure no one hits through DVD Alley. So now you're going to get a 4v4. Retake on the way. Rox is seen deep towards Ice Cream, but the initial focus for FaZe has to be on this flank.
Yeah, because still a lot of ground that you have yet to account for. Obviously, you're not going to push out their spawn. They have gotten a read due to the information that Cellium was able to provide. Sim strikes for the first blood. You have King of Body going to find that timing onto Cellium. 3v3, but 25 seconds, you got to go.
Yeah, and Simp has won an isolated 1v1 onto Khalid, so now you need Roxas to show up. Tough battle on towards Tractor, not going to work out. And in the same breath, that front side DVD push never really comes back towards it. So very quick action for FaZe, gets them a very well understood post plant.
So far, 4 offenses in a row between both teams. But if you are Falcons, you got to make the game a lot more difficult for Atlanta FaZe. When they spot you being super aggressive up to them on the map, they're realizing nobody crosses over towards B. They instantly put that bomb down, and we know how difficult of a site that can be to retake it. So Falcons potentially want to change their defensive setup, spread the map a little bit more to gain early info and then attack on that. But all tied up at 2 again. You're going to have Falcons on the attacking side, and they're just playing for that early info again off of Roxas' comms.
You've got a BZ also in towards mid cafe, trying to get some crossing shots over towards that B street. Simp and Draza, the ones dedicated towards playing off of B. King of Body in some trouble, but on the other side of the map, Simp has fallen. That's your aggressive B defender down, and now FaZe are kind of stuck at mid.
Now for our Falcons, they're going to decide to just wrap this rack over towards this mid area, but they gain that info. Thankfully, Xnit is able to stay alive, so still in the man advantage. Atlanta FaZe with all mid-map control. They are ready for the pressure to come in over towards A. I want to get a move on this bomb over towards B.
Yeah, unless Falcons decide to try to re-wrap this back. Cell, he may get caught here, getting a little bit too feisty. Khalid able to find the elimination. Maybe isolation towards a BZ as well. He gets in towards mid, take pistol out, and the shots are good. All offense thus far for both of our 2 teams.
And you heard Clay touch on it. He said that there's no VOD review on a squad like Team Falcons, but there is a lot on Atlanta FaZe. The way that they play Invasion, Search, and Destroy, it's been their bread and butter. You're always going to put at least Simp in that area around Broken. They were showing early presence, but they played for that first blood. Another attacking round on the board, now 5. It's now Atlanta FaZe forced to respond again. This time if you're Falcons, just don't give up either side for free. Play for that info on either side of the map.
Do you try doing something weird here
now
in your third defensive? No, you're not.
I would make it very difficult for Atlanta. I would make sure we're spreading the map here, gaining the early info, keeping our attacks in the back pocket, just in case they decide to go B. But with Rox is falling, that player who's playing over towards the B site, it's open for Atlanta now.
Yeah, and Cellium is going to make sure nothing plays up through Water Street, although the timing may not be good for him. Meanwhile, Khalid just playing off the cross. But again, more 1v1s continue to go away of Atlanta. Decent shots, though, from Khalid. Unfortunately, surprised, though, by Simp on the pinch. And now it all rests with one. King of Body playing from the other side of the map.
Yeah, and a 1v3 now. Can he potentially be the hometown hero and try to clutch up in this 1v3 scenario? Does not get an opportunity to do so. And it's just super easy for Atlanta FaZe, especially when they're finding that first blood with the Kobe over the top on the player at that B site, because they realize, all right, this is the one guy that crosses, nobody else goes. They have to be watching across through mid-cut. They were also ready for that second engagement, but get that opening first blood, you put the bomb down, you keep the numbers of your advantage, all tied up again.
Still staying all offense, though, for both these 2 squads. First bloods have also been evenly exchanged, all of it coming by way of the offense capitalizing on the first contact. So what's the call here for Team Falcons, who have found a lot of success getting the opening first blood towards the B side of the map? Similar idea, at least in terms of the opening setup, but this time it's a BZ who gets aggressive through the A side street and actually catches King of Body off guard.
Oh, now this is going to slow down the pressure from Falcons.
Yeah.
They take a little bit of broken control, but Body so far has been their all-star in this S&D. In the man disadvantage, and especially a BZ finding that first blood, you know he's just waiting for his moment to set up this pinch play.
Yeah, and that stun check comes out of Atlanta that does connect on the Khalid, so they do know that there is a little bit of presence here at B Street. A couple of shots for Draza on the deep cross. And now a BZ also just kind of making sure Falcons get bottled up here at the backside of DVD.
45 seconds to go. Atlanta FaZe have all their bases covered. A double stack over towards this B side, because we know how difficult it is to wrap back over towards A with no info. You set up Cellium for the second kill. 4v2. Xnit and Roxas trying to clutch on up.
Yeah, a little bit stuck. Smoke does come through over towards the middle of the map, and it has to be some sort of a bang out, and that's indeed the case. Roxas trying to play through this. Able to find one, but tagged up to allow the trade to come through very swiftly for Draza, and now you're down to the under 20 seconds. Bomb is not exactly in a great spot. And as Xnit tries to force his way into the 1v2, he will be stuck between both FaZe members, unbeknownst to him. And as he tries to go for the plant, it'll be an easy follow-up for Celium. Our first defensive round goes the way of FaZe.
Yeah, and if you are Team Falcons, you cannot afford to get first-blooded in the first 5 seconds,
Agreed.
especially on a map like Invasion, where your offenses need to be filled out. You need to realize what the setup is looking like, but when you drop a man early on, you allow Atlanta FaZe to potentially work pinches, set up different angles to gain that information as well. And then when you try to wrap your way back over towards that A site, the update on that smoke grenade, it covered a lot of ground, but just more players from Atlanta FaZe ready for the push.
Kind of a must-win round now all of a sudden. After having nothing but offense immediately changed by FaZe taking an edge in the defensive round, you kind of need to have a response here if you're Team Falcons. And once more, Atlanta going to throw a lot of their utility down B Street. Roxas will stay safe this time. Similar spread in terms of the defensive setup for Falcons. This time all 4 members stay alive though.
Yeah, but that smoke grenade is going to get invested. Again, another first blood for Atlanta FaZe. Early man advantage. Team Falcons forced to clutch on up in the 3v4, but at least no one has crossed over to the site because you have a player around that mid-tank area and XNIT holding it down. And then at the same time, they find 1 kill over towards Water Street, 3v3.
Yeah, great shots out of Khalid. XNIT going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Over towards tank side, sees one in the cross, holds off the trigger, but Khalid not able to get the crossfire kill through. So now it has to be on to XNIT to follow up, but Draza deals with it nicely. And now it's up to Roxas. 1v3 situation. Opening shots are decent, but the bomb will be planted for FaZe.
Yeah, this is not going to be easy. He's going to invest that smoke grenade through mid-courtyard. He's going to run right through it, turn it into a one-way battle. But Atlanta FaZe, everybody knows the angles. They're all peppering him, and eventually Atlanta FaZe strike. For all offenses for them besides 1 defensive round now at game point.
Shots have been clean, though.
Yeah.
These guys are battling. But 3 in a row has to start with something convincing here. Because, hey, to start this map off, kind of, put a notch in their belt. They're making some good offensive moves happen across the map. But losing the first bloods in a couple of key rounds has been the difference maker. So you got to stay alive, and you got to keep this offensive pressure alive.
Yeah, what you're trying to do on the defensive side is just allow that game clock to dwindle down and then force the team on the attacking side to try to make a really, really fast play. But when you're getting picked off early on, you're just gifting it to Atlanta FaZe. So now at game point, back on the defensive side they go. You have Simp being aggressive in towards Broken. Celium watching over him, and now you have Draza sitting at this mid-tank just playing for these comms on 4 in a row.
And you can see what Falcons are doing off this break-off. They know that Abizi's been playing towards front cafe. So they hold a different angle through Laundry, seeing if maybe they can catch intel on him and maybe try to isolate for a first blood. Not going to happen, though. Easy staying very safe. Smoke comes through. Draza going to stun it. It doesn't land. Does he know that player is actually stuck through? Well, now he does. Runs right into him. Shakes hands with XNIT. Simp following up towards the B side of the map, and now and again, numbers good for Atlanta. 3v2 as bombs being planted.
And I love this route right here out of Draza. You're not going to be ready for this. He's going to get a free B double, and that's going to be Atlanta FaZe walking away with the Search and Destroy 6-3. Now up 2-0 in the series.
Again, this is more than a David versus Goliath story. However, I gotta say, I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of what Falcons are doing, maybe as like a comparison to what we've seen from our other challengers teams that have been here, right? And all things told, this is one of the best teams in Call of Duty history.
Yeah.
And I mean, a 250, 175, and a 6-3, it's a lot tighter than we would have expected initially, and they're putting together some really cool, unique ideas.
Yeah, it's just the difference of the beginning of the game to the very end.
Yes.
Atlanta FaZe, they turned it up on the second half of the rotations in map number 1. Then they turned it up on the second half of this game once they were tied at 3-3 to win 3 rounds in a row. They started to get a feel on it. This is what Atlanta FaZe do. Those mid-round adjustments come in. They start to get a read of what the opposing team loves to do and how aggressive they decide to be around that mid-map area. But once they started to dominate in that first blood, a couple of gunfights towards the very end, it was just super easy for them. If you're Falcons going forward, your defensive setups need to be a lot better. You need to play off your early information, probably 2-2 split it, because when you're only sending one player over towards B, the team watching that cross, they gain that info, they isolate that player, then it's easy for that bomb plant. When you're getting aggressive around that mid-map area, losing that first gunfight in towards Cafe, again, the man disadvantage is not helping you on a map like Invasion. Things that they can learn from as they go back and watch this once the series is done.
Yeah, agreed. And that, well, here's the bad news, is you're going to have to turn around and play a lower round 1 game if this result stands very quickly. And again, remember who else is in this group. You've got 100 Thieves and Lord Gaming, which right now 100 Thieves is up 2-1 in their map number 4. So if, again, the results hold the way they are, we're going to get probably a Falcons versus Lord matchup. And I think the thing about that is you know, Lore have a lot of individual experience as well.
Yeah.
But kind of from what we've seen watching Challengers, I don't see a world where Falcons can't give them a better run for their money if that ends up being the case, especially with how they've shot back nicely against some of the best players in Call of Duty history.
Hey, 250 to 176, the opening hardpoint, 6-3 loss to Atlanta FaZe. We always talk about how this squad could potentially be one of the dynasties that we have in Call of Duty. You're sort of giving them a run for their money. Like, they were thinking that this was going to be real sweet, you know, but the first half of these games, they're playing you very tight until Atlanta FaZe realize what you were doing and then start countering it. But if you are Falcons, you've played them tight all the way up to this point. Obviously, you're down 0-2 in the series, but it's still something to stand on. You're playing one of the best teams in the world, very tight.
And again, we know how invasion control goes.
Yeah.
It could very well be defensively dominated as it had been kind of historically over the course of the year. And that leads to an opportunity to possibly take advantage of that if you're putting together good defensive setups. That's what the question is, though, is can they hold those setups when things start to get messy?
It's not going to be easy, though, because you're obviously playing against Simpin and Beezy, the tiny terrorist who just calls mayhem with those SMGs, even ARs in hand. And then on a map like Invasion, where that AR presence needs to be there, a body didn't really have a good performance in that opening HP.
Sure.
Needs to be 3 to 4 ARs, just shutting down lanes, making the game a lot more difficult for Atlanta FaZe, because if you lose one of those players, in Simp or Beezy, even Celium or Draza, they're going to make you pay for it.
Absolutely the case. But I think the thing about it is there's a little bit of belief been injected into the life of this Team Falcons squad as they try to get things going, but we'll step away for a brief break. When we come back, it's Invasion Control right after this.
You ever wondered how a Hollywood movie is shot? On a Sony. You review it on a Sony. And how do you make that sound epic? You record it on a Sony. Lunch break on a Sony. So why wouldn't you watch it on a Bravia by Sony?
Welcome back to Riyadh, all you beautiful COD fans. We are in our third match of the evening. Fourth match of the evening?
Fourth.
We're fourth?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
fourth? I'm already losing count. I'm just having fun watching some Call of Duty. And hey, for this matchup in particular, yes, it is still the expected FaZe up 2-0, but in his big button. I cannot lie. Falcons is fighting and looking pretty solid, all things told.
They are fighting, man. The first half of these games, they've been very, very tight. Atlanta FaZe have been able to hit a different gear, though, in the second half of the game. They've been doing that all season long. Those mid-game adjustments come in. They start to get a read of what Falcons are throwing at them, and then they're perfectly countering it. So now they're sitting comfortably up 2-0 in this series. But you can see the communication, the coach letting Team Falcons know that you guys are far from out of it. They're trying to discuss the strategies going into this invasion control, because this is not going to be easy versus a team like Atlanta FaZe, who only played invasion control all throughout champs.
I think the thing about it, though, is like you jump into a matchup that looks like this from Team Falcons. Again, the expectations are not high.
Yes.
But is there some freedom in that and being like, look, like we don't expect to win this match necessarily, but let's trust our process. Let's make sure we're trying to execute the best way that we know how to. And I don't think you get in your own head because you're like, whoa, we had possibly 2 winnable maps in front of us. Let's change everything. No, our system is working.
Yes.
We just have to clean it up just a touch to best this squad from the other side of the stage.
Just got to continue to play your game, man. You cannot try to switch up and play the game style that Atlanta FaZe love to play. That's running around, gunning, just being prepared for every single gunfight. So just stick to the game plan that got you to this positioning. As we're going to look at the maps and modes again, Atlanta FaZe currently up 2-0. 250 to 175 was the opening hard point. 6-3 was the search and destroy. Only securing 2 defensive rounds was Atlanta FaZe. Everything else is all offense between both of the teams. But phase of control, we always know it's a swing map. Control in general is a swing map. Maybe you can build a little momentum here if you are Team Falcon.
100%. Steal away a map here. Just start to gun a little bit in Karachi hard point. Who knows? Again, it may sound like we're really selling the hero story here, but hey, I expected a blowout, and we have gotten anything but that. So a lot of respect has to be given on the other side of the stage. And you can even tell off the Atlanta FaZe listening that it is being shown. Like, hey, we can't take these guys lightly. And let's be honest, I mean, any given day could be your day when it comes to Call of Duty.
100%, and especially on a map like Invasion, you just got to do the little things right. We're talking about when you're on the attacking side, we know how difficult it's going to be to find success early on at that A point. Just get those 3 segments done at B and try to make something happen. But when you're playing for those kills, once you extend that time, you need to play for that map control before you decide to play for that second objective point, because it takes 2 set of kills before you can actually work your way into that A point.
Yeah, good point. The other side of things, too, is if you do find yourself on A, don't take any unnecessarily challenges. Let's be honest, like force FaZe to come to you. So a lot of things for us to consider, but this stacked house, ready to see if the Falcons could do what, again, would be the impossible and make this possibly a series that FaZe would have to sweat through just a little bit more. Invasion control could be anyone's game. And it is kind of refreshing to hear some chants when FaZe on the stage that aren't of a certain candor.
Yeah. It feels good. It feels good to not hear that. We love you, Draza. You know exactly what we're talking about, everyone that's watching at home. But here we go, into the control. Map number 3, Atlanta FaZe currently up 2-0. They're going to be the team on the defensive side. You can already see the pressure from Falcons over towards this B point, trying to extend the time early on.
And you've even got a player kind of watching over the middle of the map. So again, Falcons are covering their bases. This is exactly what you want to see in terms of a gut check B call. Sip not quite able to get out of danger. That's already going to be not just a first, it could be a second. And Khalid through mid finds perfect timing to get into runs. This has been really good from Team Falcons.
Yeah, that was a clean 4 dead right off the rip of the game. We know how initial pushes in control can play a big part to your success story. There's now a body spinning in circles around this A objective, knowing that the pressure eventually is going to be there from Atlanta FaZe. He's still staying alive, and you have to lead across the map, still winning one-on-one gunfights. Second segment comes in, but that first segment at A just does not get completed.
It was so close, and that would have been a big individual moment for Team Falcons, but instead, they will get the extra 60 seconds on the B zone. FaZe trying to play a little bit of gatekeeping off the exit. And now it just comes down to the decision of what do Team Falcons want to do to get out of this zone? Do you want to try to play the OE, or do you want to track back over towards mid?
And I already love the play call right there out of a body. He
Hold on.
realizes that there's no pressure over towards Water Street. He's slowly trying to edge his way on up as the rest of the teammates are finding a little bit of success over towards that B side. But Simp wins that one-on-one. Abizi finds a double, and this is a scary situation versus a team like Atlanta FaZe. Now work out of your spawn.
But you do negate the spawn trap. That's the big news. Dropping Simp over towards B Street, and then Abizi also falls. So now all of a sudden you've got a little bit of some space to work with. Draza, a little bit of trouble, but Simp there to assist. And that'll be enough for FaZe to still hold the middle of the map, but now you got 3 down immediately. Again, a couple of solo plays coming through nicely. Xnid nearly able to find another 1v1 versus Abizi, but still progress can start to be made here as Kicks will get on towards the zone.
Yeah, Khalid wins that one-on-one gunfight. Now Yarox is trying to be the assistant man. And also a body as they find two in the feed, but you're just not prepared for that gunfight. The stuns and the nades coming in too strong from Atlanta FaZe. They withstand that first push, sort of retaking that mid-map control away from Falcons. Big one-on-one gunfight though. They're from Exnid. Now you just got to hold your position.
Yeah, great exit, but no, not going to be allowed to stay alive. King of Body over through DVD side, able to find one, but nothing further. Down to 60 seconds on the clock, tied in the live category. Keep that in mind. FaZe is one of the squads that often outslays their opponents pretty convincingly, so maybe an opportunity here to use this clock to make life a little bit more difficult for FaZe if you're Team Falcons.
Oh, but Draza wins that huge one-on-one gunfight versus Roxas, and Simp finds one across the map, so still numbers advantage in favor of Atlanta. They also spot a body trying to sneak his way in towards the point, and now that leads to 3, make it all 4 dead. Everyone coming off the respawn. Atlanta FaZe doing what they do best. Now you got to work out of your base.
Impressive follow-up shots from Simp, who also saw a body on the dive over. Good for 4 in a row, not quite able to find the 5th. But 8v4, less than 30 seconds on the clock. This is, I think you would have to say for Team Falcons, just don't go down terribly in the life count. Easier said than done, though, as Atlanta are keeping the pressure on. Final 18. Solium still healthy, Abizi at mid-map, working with Draza, and yeah, the rest of Falcons are now stuck here at B Street. Unfortunate team kill comes through. Simp, final 1v1, also able to take the tally, and that's enough for Atlanta to secure the defense.
Yeah, Atlanta FaZe, they just hold strong for a 2-minute setup at that A point. Effective on the trade gunfights around that middle of the map. But I think if you are Falcons, you cannot think that you can just sneak by Atlanta FaZe. Every time there was a player working his way up the Water Street thinking that, all right, it's not going to be watched, let me just work my way into the objective. But Atlanta FaZe are covering all their bases even when they're not watching it. So got to play for those kills and not try to maneuver your way or be a sneaky beaver at certain points.
Yeah, exactly. But still, good things being shown from Team Falcons, has to be said. Khalid and Nexted leading the charge in the kill category. On the other side, Simp able to tally up 10, and Draza on 5 in a row after what was a very slow start, apparently. Axe did first blood, good for the defense. FaZe trying to work through mid. Little sneak up play, and woo, King Body. A couple of shots are through, and that's enough for the easy trade to come out. And meanwhile, Khalid never leaves the B zone. Really good, solid defense here for Team Falcons.
Yeah, you can tell Atlanta wanted to play for that early A pressure, as they're sending every single player towards that side of the map. You already have Solium roaming around this blue area. They're disregarding this pressure over towards B, but Falcons, they are reading this to perfection. They have all B street control. They're holding the map, and now you just got to take this player in Draza off of that A point.
Simp, good for 1. Roxas there for the trade. Draza trying to get this first capture, down and through. Good 1v1 win, also still healthy and has help from Solium. That's the first tick done. Meanwhile, off spawn, FaZe are putting pressure on towards B. So now it's decision time for Falcons. How do we deal with this?
Oh, good thing that they only allow Draza to gain 1 segment, but if you are Atlanta FaZe, that's already job well done. Currently getting outslayed by 4 kills. Falcons are keeping up in the slaying department. You're already taking the map away. A body working his way around the pinch. Finds a freebie onto a BZ, but he's not going to read that respawn off a Simp. So Atlanta slowly working with the progression over towards B as they find that kill onto Exnid.
Now Roxas was able to get a little bit of damage on that cross through Dart, but has to take his attention in towards the B zone. And that is where he will fall. Numbers and lives still good for Team Falcons. You've also got Khalid on 4 playing a nice spot to possibly get a cruise missile, but all that told, FaZe looking like they're going to get the extra 60 here on B.
Yeah, time is going to be able to get extended. Unless a body can say something about it, at least he's going to be able to find a couple exit kills. It's already 2 players from Atlanta off of the respawn. Now you just got to account for Abizi and Draza to take care of both of them. Now you can have them trapped in their base.
Yeah, this works out nicely. Problem is FaZe have already met the bar and exceeded it in terms of total tiers that have been captured on these zones. But a chance for Falcons to put some pain into the life differential. Decent shots for King of Body. Can't quite finish off the kills. Does he get an exit? No. Draza will stop them in place. Exit, able to follow up with just the first elimination. Maybe looking for a chance to cut back over through mid, and that works out nicely. Really good map from Exit at the moment.
Yeah, they're outslaying again, up by 6 lives. Team Falcons are doing everything they need to do to make this round a lot easier for them. They're trading effectively, not allowing Atlanta FaZe to chain a couple kills together. Beautiful trade right there onto Abizi, and still a 2-for-1. You will take that every single time.
Simp, though, able to turn things back around. Keeps the door open for FaZe to quickly reinforce through A Street. Solium will stop the clock. Simp watching the cross. Khalid dealt with over towards laundry side, but whoa, clean shots coming through. Follow-up, though, is off of what you were saying. The cruise missile being called in. Second tick of progress is out. 2 players are on. King of Body would have to potentially do it himself, and he's not able to find the first. So now it's just down to, can anyone get these players out of the zone? And the answer is no. The stack is good for FaZe if they take the offense.
Yeah, it didn't matter if Falcons were dominating in the slaying department. It was still a couple players from Atlanta maintaining a little bit of that map control. Don't know how Cellium was able to work his way into the objective for free, because I thought Falcons were able to at least effectively trade. 2-2. Someone should be watching that cross. He walks in there for free, draws off the respawn, instantly causing that cruise, and at the same time, Cellium and Sim find 2 kills on their own.
Yeah.
So once that leads to a 3 dead, the double stack comes in, all segments complete. Atlanta FaZe in full advantage now.
It definitely looked like Falcons were trying to retake mid-tank.
Yeah.
Simp was in the way, though, and Simp finding those 2 kills, I think, allows that route to be hit very cleanly for Cell, not having to worry about anyone watching over towards gas station side. The chants come out from the crowd here in Riyadh, just trying to see some more Call of Duty out of this Team Falcons squad, but they would have to do it on the offense here, and the opening break-off is less than convincing, to say the least, as it's going to have to be a default secondary play over towards B.
And now look at how fast Atlanta FaZe are playing over towards this B street. They realize it was a clean 4 dead. Can we try to trap them in for one more wave of kills and it make the game a lot more difficult for them? But Falcons found the perfect exit kill, as the first segment is now being worked on. You have Cellium working this pinch all the way around the backside of Palace. He is on 4 in a row. Could potentially earn himself a cruise with this freebie right in front of him.
Yeah, Zayax that did not see the cross. The timing there was not good. Team Nade, though, keeps the play alive for Team Falcons over towards B. If they could just take care of Sip, and sometimes easier said than done, but that time it is as easy as it was sold. 2v1 goes the way of Team Falcons. They've also reduced the life lead pretty convincingly while they keep the clock stopped with this force on to B.
Yeah, but now you got to get past the pre-aims of Cellium. Thankfully, it was a 2-on-1 chow over towards that Palace area. And again, Falcons just maintaining the map control. You have Roxas pushed up, but eventually he is going to fall, and that's already 3 dead in the feed. Atlanta FaZe also have a cruise missile in their back pocket, just in case it gets a little scary at this B point.
I like this spot being held, though, from Exted. Keeps FaZe limited to how they can try to test this B zone. King of Body will jump on. Trophy system gets placed for the offense. Stops at 29 seconds. Second tick of progress gets completed, but FaZe are finding the kills they need, and now the pressure is on. Falcons have to find a way to secure this extra 60 seconds quickly.
And this is probably a situation where Atlanta FaZe are going to invest that second cruise missile that they have in the back pocket. They want to close out the game here. Only 19 seconds left, but that decision might not be made for them as Falcons find the initial 2 kills. You have Cellium coming off of the respawn. Is he going to try to call in this cruise missile in time? No, he is not. So time is going to be extended. 1:15 to work with if you are Falcons.
17 plays 14. Follow-up exit kills, though, for Falcons are good. Reduces that down to now just a 1 life count. Simp keeping the play alive, though, for the defense, staying forward on this A street, but Exton on the OE's doing really nicely. King of Body with him. That's an entryway to get onto and keep this clock stopped. This is looking decent.
And Exton, he finds another one in towards blue, so he's causing mayhem. He's watching this cross. If you are King of Body, let's not chow towards the back end, because you have Exton setting up this pinch. Can he find a timing for a double? No, they were ready for him. Draza shuts him down off of 5 in a row, but now Atlanta FaZe take the map control back. They want to make sure all their bases are covered, so the cruise missile simply called in for the info.
The thing about this, though, is it does force us to say Falcons have to get into DVD, and as they do, they find a kill, plus the cruise missile only does some friendly fire. So now it's an 8v9. Simp isolated over towards street side. This is everything you want in terms of how you successfully complete an offense. Just comes down to can they get Cellium out of the point, and they do so cleanly. One member will jump on for the stop. Exit here to join, but the trophy system gets denied, and he's already tagged up. The pinch is good, and now it's a 7v4, 25 seconds.
No more respawns. Final hoorah here for Team Falcons. Try to keep their hopes and dreams alive in this series. 4 to 6 in lives remaining with 20 seconds to go. You got to make this one perfect.
Cellium with the beatdown, though. Leaves this last hit reserved to just what happens through mid. And oh, wouldn't you know it, the read is out, but Simp denied. 1v1.
Wait a minute.
The lead's able to find it. You got to get on to stop the clock, though. 2 seconds on the clock, but no, not able to stay alive. FaZe will finish it off thanks to the life count, and it's a 3-0 here in the control. And a 3-0 with that also in the series. But, I mean, you got to be really giving some credit. That was a hell of a battle from Team Falcons.
Hey, man, to go up against one of the top dogs that we have in the league, especially probably potentially the top dog, because Atlanta FaZe, they made it to what? 3 out of the 5 grand finals all